Happy New Year everyone, I hope you're having a lovely one. It is nice actually to be back with a sales video, and I think this is going to be a very big year for SwitchUp and also for the Switch. Firstly, here are the winners of the Nintendo Switch OLED giveaway we did through our 12 days of SwitchUp. You've all won a Nintendo Switch, one of which was actually donated by a subscriber, which is absolutely amazing, so a massive thanks to them. Ping us an email, we'll verify who you are and get those sent out. Also, remember you can save yourself 5% on your eShop credit if you want to buy any games at all, and we get a tiny kickback from Nintendo. Just buy your stuff over at switchup.gg and it'll automatically come as cashback for your next purchase. What are the best games on sale this week at their lowest ever prices? Well, my name's Mark Walker. Welcome back to SwitchUp. Now let's find out.
So we're into 2025, and as is the case with every brand new year, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of New Year's resolutions being made. Mine is that I need to get back to the gym because I got injured towards the back end of last year, and when I do get back there, I'm going to bring with me my Raycon earbuds.
Yeah, I use mine when I go rock climbing. I'm planning on going to, hopefully, Fontainebleau, which is a very good rock climbing place for outdoor climbing.
Nice. And
taking the Raycons is always good because they never fall out of your ears. The latest model of the everyday earbuds have been upgraded. They've now got a 32-hour battery life, as well as multi-point connectivity. Now what that means is if you have more than one device, you don't have to repair them. You can almost force the pairing through that device, which is way easier. They've got active noise cancelling as well. You just hold your finger down on the earbud and it switches through the different modes. And as far as price goes, they start off at about half the price of other premium audio brands. Now, people always ask in the comments, are they actually any good? Well, I do use these all the time. I think they're decent sound quality, and the fact that they're waterproof and things like that as well.
Yeah, I actually got my wife and my daughter a pair of these for Christmas for their devices and whatnot, and they've been using them all the way through and been very happy with them.
You can also get a protective case for them as well. You can see that on the screen now, as well as a variety of different designs to suit your tastes. You'll get 15% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/switchup. A big thank you to Raycon for sponsoring this episode. Let's kick off with Disco Elysium down to its cheapest ever price, 70% off until January the 12th here in the UK. Now, if you're not sure what this is, many people actually liken it more to an RPG. Your character's got specific traits that you can put points into, but they're all related to his psyche or his physique. So one of them might be called drama, and that is your ability to essentially fake it until you make it in conversations. But another one, based around your physical prowess, will determine your scores when you roll for anything that relates to physical skill. One of them actually is like a karate kick against this big bouncer, and if you're good enough, you'll just send him flying. If, however, you're an absolute weakling, getting past that requires a lot more smarts. Now, Disco Elysium is one of the best written games I've ever played. This version features full voice acting, and they actually met the narrator. I think it was in a jazz bar in London, and were like, that guy's voice is incredible. We need to have it in our game. And yeah, this was, I believe, his first role as a voice actor. And if you've played the game, you know why. It's unbelievable. Incredible soundtrack as well from Sea Power, previously known as British Sea Power. One of my favorite games of all time. And it's so nice to hear that this team have actually gone on to start a new project. Well, 2 new projects if you count the split that happened. But a lovely existential crisis inducing experience. It's 70% off until January 12th. Go check out our review if you're interested. Another one almost in that same vein in terms of making you think outside of yourself is To the Moon. This is 50% off, and it tells the story of a duo who essentially work with patients who are at the end of their lives, and they help them to relive experiences. This is its cheapest price at £5.39, but what this procedure basically allows the patients to do is to relive their entire life from the beginning, but it all is taking place in their heads, which is one of those things, isn't it? Like, if that was the case, the whole Matrix thing would say that it doesn't really matter, does it? Like, your mind controls everything, what you taste, touch, feel and see. So does it really matter? I don't know, but for some weird reason this is making me want a steak. If you get that reference, then well, I mean, you should get it really. You've watched The Matrix. The storyline here isn't overblown, it's not long-winded, it'll take you about 5 or 6 hours, but my goodness is it emotional. Great soundtrack as well, that's often the overlooked part for me. That sale goes on for To the Moon until January the 12th at 50% off. Cassette Beasts has its cheapest ever price, down 40% to £10.79. This one's actually so much better than it was when it came out. Now, they introduced a 2-player co-op mode so you can play locally, but it was the performance on Switch that wasn't great and they fixed that up. Now, it's turn-based combat, it's an open world RPG that features monster collecting, but as you can tell from the title, things are slightly different here as you record them onto old school cassettes. Now, if you're not sure what a cassette is, you're disgustingly young, and I'm very pleased for you. But for me, well, yeah, these weren't even the oldest tech that I was exposed to. But it has a real nice 80s vibe to it, this one. And you can also fuse monsters, so you can take a couple and take attributes from them and fuse them together, producing unique ones. And it's not just monsters as well, it has that traditional RPG aspect to it in that you'll have other characters following you around for your adventures, but the fact that you can play local co-op is very cool, and it is a shame that that wasn't there at launch. Now, if you like this premise, you can actually pick up the deluxe version at a slightly higher price, but still its cheapest ever, and I wholeheartedly recommend it. It's easily mid to late 80s in the current condition, and the sale in the UK goes on until January the 12th. You got a couple of options with Disney Epic Mickey Rebrushed. God, that's a mouthful. You can either buy the physical here in the UK at 21 quid, that's 56% off, or the eShop version is £24.99, the cheapest it's been, that's 50% off. If you're a physical collector, most regions you'll be able to actually find a decent discount on this. And it's a lovely 3D platformer. It's all set on a journey through what's called the Wasteland, which is a realm of forgotten Disney characters. And as the title suggests, you're using your brush to essentially restore the land. It's filled with the characters that you know and maybe love. Some of them are a bit of a pain in the butt, but it's these improvements to both the visuals, the controls as well have been brought right up to date so they don't feel like those old clunky ones from back in the day. And it is a good game. It's actually a fun game. I think most people would enjoy this. This isn't a kid's pick. That 50% sale goes on until the 12th of January. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk is a cracking one. Very Jet Set Radio, isn't it? Could easily have been made by Sega as another sequel, but it's half price. The differentiating factor, if you played the original Jet Set Radio, is that you can go on BMXs here. You got your rollerblades as well, and there are these boss fights that require you to be an absolute machine, grinding rails and against walls, and they were surprisingly difficult as well. Now, there are tons of little hidden things helping people out. There are these breakdancing sections that allow you to switch to a different mode of transport, but the storyline as well is very quirky. It involves decapitation and looking for your missing head. Not probably what you'd expect when you saw these visuals. I was certainly surprised when I was reviewing it. As I've just alluded to, there is one that we do have a full review of as well, but a really enjoyable game. Half price until January the 12th. Axiom Verge 2 has its lowest ever price, down 70%, or if you don't own the first game, you've got the cheapest ever price on the bundle deal, so you've got a couple of options there. These are Metroidvanias with this weird sci-fi otherworld element to them. Now, the first game in my opinion was better because it was a little more subtle. The second is quite on the nose in terms of that story. Still decent, but I didn't have the same sense of like, yeah, that was amazing when I finished it. For me, it would be, I don't know, late 60s, early 70s. Still, at this price, it's an easy recommendation. It's well worth that. 70% off until January the 12th. Finally, we get a decent price on Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. That's down 70% in all regions, although it finishes quite soon in the US, like most of these. This is a third-person action-adventure game featuring a main protagonist who is suffering from split personality disorder. She hears the voices of lots of other people. They're giving her sometimes positive, sometimes negative advice. But what was a bit groundbreaking with this one was the sound. They used what's known as binaural audio, where it's essentially recording within a completely 3D space in a way that makes it so that your ear can actually pinpoint exactly where those voice actors were. It's really quite creepy when you play it for the first time because you'll hear a whisper and you'll look over your shoulder. Obviously there's nothing there, but with a set of headphones in handheld, this is cracking. They use a few other tricks as well to get it to look its absolute best on Switch, And it certainly does. It looks great. As far as gameplay goes, perhaps that's not quite up to the same standard as the presentation. Things like the combat are quite safe. You've got like a 1-button counter, you do a bit of dodging. It's not the most in-depth, but the world and the story carry this one in a big way. If you've not played it before, it's 70% off. Definitely worth considering adding to that almighty backlog. I had hoped we'd have a sequel to The Tourist by now. This is one of my favourites on Switch, it's lovely. You're like, well, a tourist who's going around a variety of different islands, but then some weirdness starts to happen and you end up getting roped into helping loads of random people. But it includes loads of mini games as well, but also things that are entirely optional that aren't even a game. You know, those little moments like where you can sit down on a bench and just chill and the camera might pan out, or you can just chat to randoms. There's an arcade in one of the towns and you can just play these little games, and it's from the same team that made Fast RMX, which is also one of the earliest Switch games that was amazing, but a completely different genre. But yeah, maybe you guys know, I thought we'd see a sequel to this by now, or something else. Maybe they've created another game on another platform and I've completely missed it. But this team are amazing. The Tourist is a lovely game. This is the cheapest it's ever been. I can't recommend it highly enough. The sale here in the UK goes on until January the 12th. Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning is a very old school RPG that has like semi-action combat. You can create your own class and it's got quite a deep character creation system, certainly in the different skills and the different classes that you can play as that will affect your combat. You can go the Gandalf route or you can go the Wolverine route. It really is up to you, but it does show its age. Now, having said that, I still think it's an excellent game. Some of the performance isn't great. It's nice to know that this is going to run on Switch 2 better than it is here. Things like the load times were a bit long. That's an understatement. But when you're actually in combat and in game, it was absolutely fine. 12 quid though, for what, like 30 to 100 hours of content? Decent. The hidden gem, I think I may have mentioned a couple of times, but I do think in the grand scheme of the Switch it is one, is Moonstone Island. That's down to its cheapest ever price of £12.59, and it comes from a team called Studio Supersoft. And it is a veritable smorgasbord of different gameplay elements, but they work so well together. On one hand it's Stardew Valley, on the other it's Pokemon, but it also has that Minecraft element where there's a touch of procedural generation, and that takes the place of the different islands that you can then set up new homes on. It still though has the curated community aspect, so you can go on dates, fall in love with different people in the town, get married if you want, or just spend your whole time growing crops and flowers. There's tons of customization as well, and you can go on dungeon runs to collect a bunch of loot and uncover secrets. Once you're in the loop here, you are gonna struggle to get out of it. It's incredibly addictive, very enjoyable game. There's also a deluxe edition that I would actually recommend. A lot like Cassette Beasts, if you know you like this style of game, you may as well buy the deluxe edition that's also on sale. It has a really nice art style, like a halfway house, somewhere between Moonlighter and Stardew Valley. The sale for that in the UK goes on until January the 12th. Okay, so it's time to have a look at some Savaloys, some very cheap games for less than a few quid. First up, I spoke about the sequel. We've got Axiom Verge 1, which is 85% off at just £2.24. Well worth it at that price. Civilization 6, which is about to get the sequel, well, that's down 90% to $2.99 until January the 8th. You could literally spend hundreds and hundreds of hours in this one. Saints Row the 3rd is down 85% to $2.39. Basically GTA, but with floppy weapons. And Saints Row 4 is also on sale at exactly the same price. Both had patches post-launch, they run okay, and we're quite limited in terms of sandbox GTA style games on Switch. Then Shiren the Wanderer, very enjoyable dungeon crawler. I'm not the biggest fan of the art style, but it is a fun game, and if you can fit it into your schedule, you'll get hooked on it. That's just £3.59. So that's it. As we said at the start, Congratulations to the winner of the Switch consoles. Pretty amazing that a community member would give one of those away, and we were able to source a couple as well. So yeah, thanks to all of you that enjoy the content. I think this is going to be a big year for the channel and also for the Nintendo Switch, obviously. If you want to save yourself some money on any of these games, just go to switchup.gg. You get 5% in cash back automatically. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!